Well, now, folks, It's time for the our post show where we do a deep dive into some of the geekier topics that we talk about during the main show. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking around, and let's just jump right into it. So, Greg, what I wanted to talk about this week was technology to stay away from. Uh, um, when buying for the tech geek or the tech nerd in your life. So, uh, let's give three tips, three or more tips. Let's just give a few tips on what you can stay away from. So my number one is to be careful not to force somebody into an ecosystem, right? Especially with smart home tech, especially with um, we mentioned earlier the health tech and stuff like that, right? We talked about getting dad some scales or some blood pressure monitors and stuff like that. Careful not to force somebody into having to use, like, let's say, for example, if dad is already an Android user, he has his Android phones, he's comfortable with it, it's going to be pointless to buy him a home pod,
Yep.
right? I think it'll be great to buy him a home pod, but if he's going to be looking into getting smart home tech and stuff like that, he's already going down the Google Home road, right? He already has his main device, which would be his Android phone, and vice versa, right? If he's an Apple fan, if he's an Apple guy, you know, it's going to be pointless to get him a Google Home Hub, right? Now, I'm giving this warning because you're going to be seeing these hubs for Black Friday this week, all the way up into Christmas for dirt cheap, right? You're going to see, man, dad said he wants a garage door opener. So I'm going to get him this Google, smart home hub because it says you can have a garage door opener and stuff like that. But then you're forcing him into the Android ecosystem or the Google ecosystem, knowing that he's already in the Apple ecosystem. So be conscious of stuff like that when you're the perfect example again, another one. You're going to be seeing security cameras, smart home cameras, wireless cameras for dirt cheap. Really good prices, really good, really, really, really good prices. And actually, this is the perfect time of the year to buy home security videos and doorbell cameras and stuff like that. But should you buy him that Ring 1080p Ring doorbell system if he already has a set of security cameras at his home that's already in a secondary or different ecosystem or something like that. So just be conscious, mismatched devices. There's a way to make everything talk and communicate smoothly. But does he want to deal with that trouble? Or should you be buying him one that already fits in and integrates into the ecosystem that he already has? So just be conscious of not forcing somebody into an ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, next year, if I smart homify my trailer here,
Hmm.
um, you're gonna have to help me with that, but I don't wanna do Alexa.
Yeah, it's going to be HomeKit.
Yeah,
Always going to
it's
be HomeKit.
so yeah, so I think this is super important, even though it may work for you,
Hmm.
um, it'll if you do this, it'll be like kicking a brick wall.
Yeah, yeah, and you will be. And again, I mentioned earlier on in the show, you know, there's a reason why these things are $18
Yeah,
because you're going to have to upgrade it the next year. And I find myself, like I told you, like the lights in the room, I end up moving all of the Hue lights out to move in a different brand. So you'll get these deals. You'll find yourself really getting into home tech. You're really liking this stuff, and you're going to go down the path like me, and you're having to go through the home one by one and replace things with updated versions that'll work in the ecosystem that you want it to.
yeah,
So that's never good. You save money up front to spend more money later.
yep.
So Black Friday home automation gear, again, I say that's there's a reason why it's $18, right? Some of this stuff, and not to get too technical, well, we're in the post show, right? Most of the geeks are listening now. So let's get technical about this. Be conscious of the way these things communicate, right? There's Wi-Fi, there's Bluetooth, there's different sorts of connectivity. So when a smart home light is $18, or I take that back. When you go to Walmart and they have these doorbuster deals and they have this smart home light with a million different colors and it's $8, there's a reason why.
Yeah,
You're not going to be able to access that light outside of your network. You're not going to be able to access it a certain distance away because it probably communicates through Bluetooth, not Bluetooth LE or one of the newer versions of Bluetooth, just the oldest, most stable version of Bluetooth. And that's the only way he's going to be able to communicate, or you're going to be able to communicate with this device. So, think about it. If it's You can find smart home tech for a good deal, but if it's $8, if it's $10 or something like that, there's a reason why. And they stripped out of all of the connectivity, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth LE, and it only uses this app. It doesn't integrate with Alexa. It doesn't integrate with HomeKit. It doesn't integrate with Google Home. It's just a light bulb that you can control through Bluetooth while you're standing next to it.
Hey,
So,
if that's what you need,
yeah,
grab it, right?
yeah,
I mean, if you're gonna walk out and flip on all the Christmas lights and you want that light as part of your Christmas decoration, so you're going to be standing right next to it every time you need to turn it on,
yeah,
whatever, right? Then fine. But just be aware. I think that's the problem with everything that's Black Friday, all of the doorbuster stuff. I mean, Amazon or
yeah,
Apple gets a lot of crap for not doing big deals. Like you get a gift card
yes,
when you buy certain products. But the reason they do that is because they're not selling 5-year-old tech,
right.
right? I
They're
mean, they're
selling their
giving you,
current,
they're
current or
selling their
last
current
generation. Yeah,
tech. And oh, by the way, we just want you to go spend more money with us. So
yeah,
that's their approach, and that's fine. So I think you just need to be aware. And I think this goes for you giving advice to anybody looking to buy these things. Hey, I'm thinking about buying this for so and so. Is this what I want to buy? Well, make sure you understand what they want to use it for and make sure
yeah,
that it will work.
yeah. So the next one I had was, again, and I keep saying these doorbuster deals. They're older tech, but they're also not for spec nerds like me and Greg, right? When we look for stuff, like, it's I think I'm hard to buy gifts for because I'm a spec nerd,
Yep.
right? If I want a TV, I'm looking at hertz. I'm not looking at size, right? You go to Walmart or you go to any site and they have these big TVs. Oh, 55-inch TV for 99 bucks. The size of the TV doesn't matter to me. It's what's inside that's what's important. Now, there are
Yeah.
good deals. Those are the deals that aren't usually, they don't fly off the shelf because people are like, well, why am I going to buy this 75-inch TV when Walmart has one for 200 bucks? Well, because this 75-inch TV is, yeah, it's 600 bucks, but look what's inside. So
Yeah.
we're looking for things like 120 hertz. We're looking for refresh rates and things like that. So when you talk about specs, there's no specked out doorbuster deals, right?
No,
There's
no.
no, yeah,
And this is why I said back at the beginning, right, that there's this other category of folks that it's like, just let me buy my own
yeah.
thing, right?
Let me
I
get what I
would,
want.
and this is why I get so excited about the geeky accessories that I talked about earlier, right? Is because my son didn't ask me if I wanted that metal Boba Fett poster. But when I opened it, I'm like, oh, this is super duper cool, right? It's in a
Yeah.
prominent spot on my wall.
Mhm.
If he had decided to go buy me a new iPad, that's probably not a good idea. Number one, he's a college student,
Right.
so he didn't have the money. But
Yeah.
no, I want stuff. If they had heard me say, I was having problems with my Ring doorbell, or I hate the thermostat that I have, and gonna go out and buy me a thermostat, a smart thermostat, or something like that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of geeks that fall into that same category, and that's where I think you're much better off finding something that's alternative, like clothes or posters, or something that
Yeah.
feeds the geek, right? Or
Yeah.
just saying, I can't buy for you, but here's my budget that I would have spent on you. Please go buy what you want, right? And my mom used
Yeah.
to get super. This holiday season is going to be interesting without my mom. This was her
Yeah.
season. She spent all year planning for
Yeah.
Christmas, and
Yeah.
then every year when she'd say, "Okay, well, what do you want?" and I'd say, "Just give me the cash," right? She'd just
Yeah.
get so disappointed to the point where I stopped saying that and would start saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I
Because
found
it's
this."
cheating. She felt
Well,
like me. It's
she
cheating. A
did.
gift
So,
card, money.
like the one year I got really into, when I first got into mountain bike riding, and she said, "What do you want?" And I thought, I'm trying to get all the tools so I can do my maintenance and stuff on my bike
Yeah.
myself. And so I asked her for, it was a tackle box. But
Okay.
it's one that the front popped down and you had 3 drawers, 4 drawers that would slide out, and then the top had storage, and then it had little compartments, and the drawers that slid out had plastic dividers that you could configure. So I mean, it was designed for
Okay.
fishing gear, right? All your hooks and
Yeah.
flies and all that kind of stuff. And I said, this is what I want. And she was like, really? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is what I want. And so,
Yeah.
um, but even that year it was hard because I was trying to communicate her because she wanted options so she could try and surprise me and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
It's just hard when you're a
Yeah.
spec nerd. When you I have a t-shirt on. I probably should have pulled it out, but my t-shirt says I never thought I'd become a grumpy old man, but here I am rocking it. Um, the older I get,
Yeah,
right,
I like that.
the older I get, the more particular I am about
Yes.
certain things. Like buying me a I don't even think my wife would want to try and buy me a bottle cage for my bike. And if she did, it wouldn't be the one I want. It wouldn't be the one that I have because I have
Yeah.
a fancy one that's got magnets instead of just the cage that you slide any bottle you can find down it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
the so that's why I think there is this extra geeky stuff. And those geeks out there, that these doorbusters are not for
Yeah.
you. They're not going to be
Oh
what
yeah.
you want. And if you're still listening to this and you have that super geeky person in your life, don't think I'm going to go line up and stay overnight at Best Buy and buy that $150 whatever brand TV because they've been asking
Right.
for a TV to play games on in their office and think that that's going to be exactly what they want. Odds are
Yeah.
it's probably
They don't.
not. So
They
it's
don't.
not that anytime you put thought into trying to give a gift, it's appreciated, or at least it should be. Right. But it just, you get to this point. I'm the same way with my wife. I always try and find something. I'll get her chocolate or, whatever the case may be. But she'll tell me I want clothes. Right. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, go buy the clothes you want because I'm not picking out clothes for my
Yeah.
wife. Right. That's just not going to happen. So that's the way I
Right.
feel about these doorbusters, some of this Black Friday stuff. So when I see somebody like Anchor, right, coming up with that massive sale that you and I were talking about over the last
Yeah.
week or so, and some of the stuff that's on there, I get excited about that kind of stuff for geeks because even though it may not be the latest, absolutely greatest that they put on, it's still recent stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
still good, solid stuff. And if, like, for me, if you're replacing anything you have with MagSafe, anything MagSafe is better than the plug-in stuff that I have right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this other stuff, it's just not for the geeks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not. It's not. So they have some pretty geeky stuff, and deals are out there, right? You can find really specked out stuff that the geek the spec geek would love in your life, but it's not going to be those doorbuster deals. It's not. It's going to be the less attractive price. Like I mentioned the TVs earlier, they'll have a 75-inch at Walmart for 185. Then they'll have a 75-inch at Best Buy or even at Walmart, but that one will be $900. Still an awesome deal, right? Because you're
Yeah.
still looking at $1,500 to $2,000 for a good, a decent spec, 75-inch TV. So $900 is still a good deal, but it's not the deal that people are lining up for. They're lining
Yep.
up for the $150, whatever doorbuster deal. So the deals are out there. They're just not those obvious ones. So,
Yeah.
um,
I agree.
yeah, for the spec geek, doorbuster deals, they're not for us. So, and then I see you added one
Yeah.
here, Greg. You didn't really add much to the list for the deep dive this week. So,
Nah, I didn't. My mind is elsewhere, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
staring at the mountains trying to decide if I'm going to get a ride in today. Probably not because I got home yesterday and I had to soak my knee in the hot tub because it was
yeah.
sore. I've been doing so much riding. But this last one, it came up on another podcast and I thought about this. Um and this is for the geeks out there and for the family IT person, don't force people into an upgrade. Just like you wouldn't force folks into an ecosystem like you mentioned earlier, Jason, this is also don't
Hmm.
force them into an upgrade. And I think about my son who's might need a new Mac because he can't do the battery life. I don't want to force him into that, especially until he decides what he's doing, until we know what he needs,
Yeah,
because a Mac may not be the thing for him. Um, my grandma, the last time I was down there, I noticed that she hadn't updated to the latest version of iOS 16 even, and 17's been out, but I didn't put 17 on there because every time I do something like that, she's worried that it changes how she's going to use the
yeah,
phone, right?
yeah.
And
It's gonna move
so,
something around. Yep.
yep. So it's more of a deliberate thing and that kind of stuff. So don't say, "Oh, you're on an iPhone 12. I'm gonna buy you the iPhone 15 and it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread and you're going to be so super excited, and then you're going to go give it to them and they're going to go, my old phone was fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's a letdown for you because you're the geek and you would want it, but it's also a letdown for them to a certain extent because they feel like you're saying you have to do things my way, that kind of stuff. So
Right.
just don't
Right.
force people into an upgrade. Any of this stuff that you're doing, don't force them down a path. And maybe the last tip on all of this is uh don't be offended if people return stuff and get something they really want. I know sometimes it's hard if you put a lot of thought into it and that kind of stuff and you thought you were going in a good direction, but you know,
Yeah.
life's too short to be forced into things, and life's too short to not do the things that are going to truly help you and help you get more out of life, which is what this podcast is supposed to be
Yeah.
all about. So, anyway,
Yeah. I agree with that. And I've been told on several occasions for several years that I'm a notorious gift returner. I just am. I just you know, again, I'm a spec nerd, just like you. I get something and it's not necessarily entry level or whatever, but it's never the right color, it's never the right, capacity, it's never the right battery size or something like that. I'm a notorious gift returner, so I'll admit that. And yeah, I hope I don't offend people with that.
geek accessories. That's what I'm saying. That's why I get so excited about that one, right? You
Yeah,
know that they've just spent the last 3 weeks binge watching every episode of that, 90s TV show or whatever the case may be. I didn't realize this. Wyatt came home the other day and they went to a mall and they had some Comic-Con kind of stuff going on, and he
yeah,
was wearing a vintage Star Wars t-shirt.
nice.
And he was like, "Oh, this was so awesome." And I would not have pegged him for wanting, I mean, because he's into a lot of the anime and that kind of stuff with
Yeah,
his friend group, but he was so excited to show off that vintage Star Wars t-shirt that he had.
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
So he fit right in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
All right. Well, Greg, that was all I had. I know you got some maintenance to get to, so I'm not going to hold you long. So let's just end it there,
okay.
and just tell everybody thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yep, and the edits will be what the edits are going to be. I haven't heard anything too major, but there have been some planes overhead, some diesels
Yeah,
going
I
by,
hadn't
and
heard anything.
we'll
I
see
think it was good.
we'll see what shows up. And if you like this kind of stuff, the on location kind of stuff, or switching it up, and don't worry so much about the quality of the audio and stuff like that, hit the feedback form and let us know. Love to know that,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
figure out how to do more of this.
yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.